Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me one quick favor, see that little black subscribe button on the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Really does help this channel grow, my audience grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. Also, quick thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet $50 on any game. Get up to $1,111 in free bets courtesy of the Betfred Sportsbook. Thank you again. Now, here's the video that you came here for. From the LSU perspective, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now, I will say, I was somebody that didn't really buy into LSU. If you follow me, if you listen to this show, I picked Alabama to win the West. I picked Alabama to win the SEC. I picked Alabama to make the playoff. But at the same time, I'm not sure that I expected what we saw on Sunday night in Orlando, where it just got so out of hand that, again, like Florida State basically punked them, basically rubbed their dirt in the rubbed their nose in the dirt just to kind of prove it late in the game. And so when I look at this game, what I would say is it was definitely a disappointment. I mean, Brian Kelly said after the game, and I think people get mad at Brian Kelly because he tells you exactly what he feels all the time. But he basically said, I guess we're not the football team that I thought we were. But guess what? They lost week 1 last year and it was okay. But from the LSU perspective, I think the bigger thing to me is this, is that I do think there is an explanation as to why what happened last night happened. And part of it is, again, I think they were just flat out overrated coming into the season. I think they were probably a fringe top 10 team, but I think they're at best the third best team in the SEC. I don't think if it clicks with Texas A&M and Bobby Petrino, we're going to talk about them in a second. Texas A&M has the chance to be really good. If it clicks with Joe Milton, they have a chance to be really good. So the gap between LSU as the third, fourth best, like I don't think there's a big gap. Their schedule is tough. But here is why I believe what we saw on Sunday night happened the way that it did. I believe what we're seeing is an LSU team that not only isn't as good as we thought, they're not as far into their rebuild as a lot of people want them to be. What do I mean by that? I tweeted this out on Sunday night. I said, Mike Norvell's in year 4. He's got a culture. He's got a foundation. He knows the portal. He knows NIL. He knows he's got it all figured out. Brian Kelly, remember, he took this job in December of 2021. So that's 18 or so months ago, 19, whatever it is. He inherited a program. Remember, the last time LSU played before Brian Kelly took over as the head coach, they played a bowl game with 39 scholarship players, okay? And so in my opinion, I say this all the time, there is a difference between reasons and excuses, okay? Reasons and excuses. An excuse is my dog ate my homework. Couldn't do my homework, my dog ate it. A reason is I didn't do my homework because we had a power outage. My mom's car broke down. Like there are legitimate reasons why you don't show up with your homework done on a Monday morning or on a Tuesday morning or whatever. There's also excuses like my dog ate the homework, whatever. And so from LSU's perspective, I don't think it's an excuse to say that they only had 39 scholarship players as of 18 months ago. And I don't care how good you are in the portal. I don't care how good you are in high school recruiting. Remember, Brian Kelly was way behind on that 2022 high school class. And I don't care how good you are. You're not going to do it in one high school recruiting class and 2 portal cycles. There's just not enough bodies. You can't build the depth that you need to compete at the highest level. And so why I was down on LSU this year was a few reasons. One, I thought their frontline talent, their top 22, was as good as anybody in college football this year. Jaden Daniels at quarterback, the 2 offensive tackles that were true freshmen last year, all those wide receivers that balled out last night, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and whomever. Harold Perkins on defense, who obviously LSU fans are not happy with how he was used. But I bring it up because the front line was always good enough, but it was the depth behind them. Alabama has 5 straight top 5 recruiting classes in that system. It's why they only need to add 2, 3, 4 players from the portal every year. Georgia has added 2 players from the portal in the last 2 years because their high school recruiting and development is so good. Clemson's further along. Florida State is further along. Ohio State, Michigan is further along than LSU is. And so I never bought them as a playoff contender. I never bought them as a national championship contender. And you know who else I don't think bought them either? Brian Kelly. Remember what Brian Kelly said at SEC Media Days. Brian Kelly said at SEC Media Days, they asked him about how close he was to Georgia or if they're ready to compete with Georgia. And he said, we'll get there, but we need a few more recruiting classes. And it doesn't matter how good you are in the portal. Doesn't matter. You have to do it in recruiting year after year after year after year after year. The rosters that have been built at Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, the places that I mentioned, it's great recruiting every single year. Then you get them to campus and you develop the crap out of them. It's why I'm not as high on LSU this year. It's why I'm not as high on Tech. Like, you go on and on down the list. I just don't think it's enough time. So I'm excited for LSU. I believe in Brian Kelly, but this always felt like a 9-3-ish type team to me. Good news is they got an elite high school class coming in next year. Good news is they signed an elite high school class last year, and they're always going to do very well in the portal. But this is a process, and just right now, I don't think they're far enough along in the process. Not an excuse for LSU's performance on Sunday night, but I do think it's a reason. Still like LSU. But listen, if you listen to this show, you know I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that things went down the way they did. All right, so what I want to do